Hey, everybody, welcome again to another Freedom Friday. And this is also Good Friday, so it's a symbolic day for many of us. In the first part of the show, we replayed my interview with Zach. I think most of you know who Zach Rehl is. We've covered it very heavily during the trials for the Proud Boy trials. And now you've heard his basically just a little bit of trip back in time to September of 2023, right after his sentencing. Zach is now in prison serving his sentence. And with us today is his lovely wife Amanda, who's come graciously decided she would talk to us a little bit about the sacrifices that are unfortunately required of the family members, not just the J6 prisoners, who certainly are sacrificing their freedoms, their time, and their life with their loved ones, but the impacts of the family sometimes extend way beyond what most of us think, the damage that's been done as a prisoner. And so I invited Amanda here to kind of talk about her life today and how she's getting along and Zach's getting along. Amanda, thank you for coming on and sharing with us.
Thank you for having me.
So tell me a little bit about what has life been like since the sentencing? I know it's been a little bit of a, almost 6 months. It doesn't seem that long, but what has happened in your life since then? How have you been able to adjust to this, the knowledge that there's going to be a while before we can get Zach out?
Um, it's honestly even hard to express what I'm kind of just existing in a sense. I have a lot of hope toward the things that are happening, and I think it's allowed me to kind of just get by. Like I cried after sentencing because that was a very daunting number, 15 years. But I know he's not serving that, and it's just I have to stay strong. Like I have a daughter, so I have to be able to each day just wake up, get by, and it helps that Zach calls me every day. So
Well,
yeah,
being in contact has got to be a good thing, but at the same time,
yeah,
it's no substitute for having your loved one with you or having a father with the child. How
absolutely
have
not.
you basically been getting? I mean, now Zach and you guys, everybody has a business or a way that they make money in life. How has that affected your income, your ability to get
Well,
by?
Zach was the breadwinner. So he brought in all the money, and he was in the process of opening his own financial advising firm before his arrest. I've struggled to find employment since his arrest. I have no experience. I was a waitress prior to his arrest, so it's been hard for me because I'm trying to find steady steady income for my daughter and myself, and I have like a black cloud over my name when people look me up and they're just like, oh, but your husband. It's not representative of me, but that's how they view it.
And I kind of keep saying this. There's only a few people who I would really say might have overstepped their bounds that day. Most people were just being defensive and trying to protect themselves and loved ones, or even people that they didn't know that were being brutalized. I don't think really a lot of the folks that have been charged with the violent issues were really that violent. They were more defensive, but at the same time, everybody got painted with that brush during these trials. If one person
Yeah,
was egregious, everybody was egregious. And I think we
yeah.
saw that in Zach's sentencing. I think we saw it in
He
all the Proud
was
Boys sentencings.
he yeah, they you're aware that the terror enhancement, they put that on a fence that they claim that they destroyed, but Zach didn't touch that fence. He wasn't near that fence, but he was convicted for having destroyed that fence. It was
And
the one I think right before the Capitol that was taken down,
but
like
he
the
didn't
building
really
itself.
destroy it. I mean, we've seen now videos where we see police officers actually dragging the fences out of
Yeah,
the way.
he wasn't even near that fence. They tied it to them because Ethan, Nordine, and Joe Biggs were by that fence, and that's how they got all of them for the terror enhancement.
And that's basically that's guilt by association, which is
Hmm.
nothing really. That's not even circumstantial. That's just attitude. And it's,
Yeah.
I really I think all of us have found it hard to stomach what's been happening in the DC courts and with the DC judges. I've heard some really egregious things said as we listened in on these trials before before the COVID, while we still have COVID conferences
Yeah.
going on. I just could not believe I was hearing these things in a court of law, much less in some of the highest courts of the land. Um, and so I personally, that really affects the way I look at things now. I mean, justice is something that's between us and our government. It's the way each of us expects the other to behave. When one of us doesn't do that anymore, how does that make you feel on a day-to-day basis? I mean, do you see that we could turn this corner, that we could right these wrongs, that we could make people see the realities of that day and then undo this injustice?
It's very frustrating to see because like especially like as I was watching everything from the beginning of my husband being arrested through pre-trial, trial, seeing how unjust that Judge Kelly was. He showed no fairness. He showed his bias in every motion that he responded to. And even when it came to jury selection, he didn't care that the jurists were biased. He let the prosecution get away with so much even during the trial when things were coming out that should have realistically caused a mistrial. He didn't care. He was like, it's fine. He had their sentences, I believe, picked out well before conviction. He knew June of 2021 that they were guilty. He had denied Zach. There was a filing, the bail denial, and he basically admitted that he believed he was guilty in that, which that's not how a judge should be behaving. And
No,
he's not the only judge that's done it.
no,
It's all
that's
of these
predisposition.
judges.
Judge Nichols, Judge Mehta. I mean, we've got a long list of judges who are going to have to answer some very serious behavior charges. If
Oh,
this
I agree.
administration and the DOJ ever get straight, these individuals have committed basically, juris misconduct.
Yeah, well, they're supposed to protect the defendants from like they're supposed to be fair, and that none of them showed that.
Well, the
And
defendant is always supposed to be presumed innocent until guilty, and it's upon the prosecutions to prove that. But in case after case after case, we got guilty verdicts without the prosecution ever proving their cases. In some cases, their own evidence disproved it, and yet we still came out with guilty verdicts. How can people get involved? First of all, everybody knows you go to patriotmailproject.com, look for Zachary Rehl, write him and let him know that we have not forgotten him. Help him out
yeah,
with the commissary, send him some books. Let's just make sure that as we go through this, we don't forget who's really doing the most sacrificing here for all of us.
yeah. And he
How
loves
can they help?
receiving letters.
Oh, letters are so important. I mean, I keep
Yeah.
telling people over and over again, every single letter that I read coming out of those jails, here's one from Kyle. The very bottom says, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you writing to me, how grateful I am that you haven't forgotten. Folks, get involved. Don't let these
Yeah,
people.
and it helps their morale with being in prison. Because I'm sure it's not easy to wake up and look at these walls, like these four walls surrounding you. I'm assuming cement walls that are dingy. You don't have a pillow, you have like a thin blanket, and you're not supposed to be there because you know you're innocent.
Yeah. And the conditions in some of these prisons are, if there has ever been a more revealing aspect of the need for prison reform, January 6th has provided it. With the letters
Oh
that have come
yeah.
out of these prisons, with the interviews of these men and women, with the physical evidence that has been provided and the testimonies of even representatives, there is no doubt that our